Good evening and welcome to Gunner Shot. Today we're going to discuss about the reforms which are needed in the MOD. And to discuss all this with me is General Raj Shukla. At the outset, General Raj Shukla, welcome once again to Gunner Shot. Important topic and a long time since we've interacted on any topic. How are you?
Very well, sir. Happy New Year to you and to all
Yeah.
your viewers. May you have a wonderful 2025. And Ghana Short says this year is going to cross billion subscribers.
Oh, no, no, no. I don't think that's the aim. The aim is to keep things active and keep things in perspective. And that is why, as we did, I must tell everyone that General Raj Shukla and I had a talk a few days back, and we said we'll, tackle reforms in MOD. And let me give a background. Why MOD? Why do you need reforms in MOD? MOD can go on. It's been going on for the past 20 years, 50 years like this only. Right. Oh, I fully remember, when I was in service, we started talking of this MQ-9 Reaper. So finally, after 8, 10 years, it slowly trundled its way into, into service, or rather the contract. It'll take another 2, 3 years before it enters service. So why should we continue with this same story? And and there are very good reasons for this. The world is changing, and the world is changing at the rate of AI. And AI is changing at the rate of AI. That's the thing. Okay. What I learned about AI maybe 2 years back is outdated now. Everyone was speaking of large language models 2 years back. Today, all those are every Tom, Dick, and Harry comes out with a large language model. Today is the day of small AI, small language models. You'll be surprised to know that to train the AI models, people have run out of data because they finished off the internet completely. So now we are in the world of synthetic data. And what's more interesting is there's not enough energy in this world to run your AI, data centers. So that's why Trump wants Greenland because there's uranium there, and he is being backed by tech accelerators. Who are the tech accelerators? Amazon, Microsoft, Palantir, all these fellows. They're paying him money to talk and acquire Greenland because there's uranium there. With uranium, you'll build nuclear reactors and change the whole story. That's the rate at which world is moving. That's one part of the story. Then you see the wars which have happened. Earlier, 3 years back, we said we'll have short, sweet wars. Technology dominated. There'll be no fire exchange. People are dying by the dozens. 23, 24, we've had the highest number of casualties for a long in this decade. What the character of war is changing. The weapons of war are changing. And then we have gone into ambitious systems like theater commands and things like that. The structures are changing. Your roles are changing. As your economy grows, your role, you're no more just a big power or a medium power or a middle power. You're a regional power. That's what you want. Third biggest economy. We keep saying third biggest economy by 2030. The third biggest economy by 2030 has to have the third modern armed force. Otherwise, there'll be a Vikisit Bharat without a Surakshit Bharat mismatch. And this entire story comes down to this organization called Ministry of Defense. And a large part of what the Ministry of Defense enables India to go on the right line. This is my heads up to all of you. I'm sure you'll hear more with better examples than what I've quoted from General Raj Shukla. So over to him. Raj, all yours.
So I think you've kicked it off well. And I can just add a few things here and there. So I'm, firstly, so let's say when I read of this news that the MOD is going to reform further, I thought it was a very good signal. if the signal is that we must broaden, deepen, and accelerate the reforms. So something is on, but they have to be broadened, deepened, and accelerated. For all the reasons that you said, sir. Uh, China, the lag with China, which was once linear, growing in a linear fashion, is now becoming exponential. Exponential meaning that if we don't reform and not tinkering, not tinker, it is I mean, they will just race ahead. So, apart from the so many things which have already happened, I mean, we all know 66 cabs, 400 ship navy. Now we have this J-36 next generation fighter. I'm not saying it's a perfect thing, but tailless design, three engines, all this should really worry us. Uh, I think so. You tweeted, or I thought somebody else, I saw the tweet. Unmanned aerial systems, 1 million kamikaze drones they are buying. 1 million. I was for a while talking of this military hardened 5G 2 to 3 years back. Huawei began talking about it. Now it's being rolled out along the LAC and along their Eastern Naval Command, which is high speed, low latency mobile grid, which will link these 1 million kamikaze drones. So you are seeing the beginning of military robotics along the LAC. Look at all this stuff that is happening. Uh, the fact, the great changes, the great technological change for the Indian military, if I may sum it up in one line, is growing autonomy at declining cost. All this business of drones, FPVs, kamikaze, military robotics, and at declining costs. So, uh, this is exactly the whole challenge. The other point that you made about, India now is in the big league. The Asian Power Index says we are the third most powerful country in the world. So the third most powerful country in the world cannot have a military which is rooted in legacy thought. And I think the most convincing, or the reason which should really shake us up is that can lethargies or inaction in Delhi, in MOD, if they lead to us not equipping the soldiers, sailor, and airmen in the fleets and formations with what they deserve, what we can do, but we don't do just because we don't want to reform. So that would be really a violation of this covenant, this sacred trust with the sailor, soldier, airmen in the field. You cannot, I mean, I was at India's Ideas Summit last month in Bangalore, and very good economists, Shamika Ravi, Dr. Panagraya was there. They were talking of $12 trillion economy in the next 5 years, $40 trillion by 47. And there was not a word about national security. The national security cannot be an afterthought. As you rightly said, this rising India needs to be secured with a modern, technologically enabled, innovative instrument of force. So for all these reasons, we just have to change. And if, saying 2025 is the year of reforms, and if the intent is to deepen, broaden, and accelerate the reforms, and not only MOD, actually now national security is so complex that it is a broader call for action in national security. We just have to do it. And my own view is it can be done. It just needs change of thought. It just needs cultural transitions. And if we do all that, it will be so satisfying, so gratifying, so beneficial for everybody. And I would like to make two more points, sir. Look what we can do when we want to do. Look at DPI. I mean, when it started, there were all kinds of skeptical noises. But hasn't DPI delivered miraculous change? So I think we really need to deepen these reforms this year. And 2025 could be for national security what 1991 was for our economic turnaround. It is just a matter of attitude, willingness, and change. So
Yeah.
those are
I,
my
I,
opening.
I
And the last
yeah,
point, if I
I
just one
yeah,
more point.
please.
The good news is that at the recent Emarshus Subroto Mukherjee lecture or that symposium that day, the defense secretary said that the DPP is broken. It needs to be fixed. I have not heard of a defense secretary in the recent past say that. Extreme candor, and that itself is the first step. The air chief has been rightly pointing out that we are wedded to Atmanirbharta and defense, but it cannot be that we talk of a Tejas in 84, in 2024 we don't even have 40 platforms delivered. It cannot come at the cost of operational readiness, at the cost of deterrence. And the DRDO chief also, I heard him say that we cannot get this engine going unless there is collaboration with OEMs. So if there is now this candor, this willingness to admit that things are broken, they need to be fixed, that itself is a welcome step. And the last point I would like to make, so before I before you ask the next question,
Yeah.
is that of late we have seen what is the attitude to change and reform. So DRDO says, yes, there are problems, we need to change, but I cannot change. I will toss the ball up to PMO and see what they do. I'm saying that the CDS, the service chiefs, Chairman DRDO, Defense Secretary, even the FADS, FADS is a lead actor here. They are men of infinite experience, uh, competence, distinction. You have to show statesmanship, and you please change. The chairman DRDO should say, this is what I need to do and this is what I will do. Why can't the FADS say that the DPP is not working? It was designed for a lazy monopsony market. It needs to change for a technologically driven innovation market. And these are the 15 steps. I will do it for you. I mean, who higher than these people? So
Hmm.
if that is it, surely these reforms can happen. And
Yeah.
if there is somebody by conviction, and I'm saying this, if by conviction I feel that reforms are not needed, or they cannot be done, or I cannot do them, I have the option to exit. But I cannot be sitting there now, the country cannot afford it. So
Hmm.
I'm appealing to the apex leadership of the military, civil, technological, administrative, financial bureaucracies. Nobody better than you to change. And it is really needed. It is a national security issue. We are could be in a pre-war era. We could suffer humiliation at the hands of the Chinese. Our soldiers, sailors, airmen need it. General Malik said in Kargil that we will fight with what we have. Today, a more confident Vishwa Bandhu should say, we will give our soldiers, sailors, and airmen the technologies and combat capacities that they need to win. And the last point is that for very long, the fitrat in the MOD has been, all right, now this change has occurred. Oh, now we need to react to it. We will cope. When will this is a good year to say that we will anticipate over the horizon change and execute what needs to be done before the change comes to our doorstep. And
Yeah.
a step ahead, when will we start leading change? We should change first, and China should say, oh, we will catch up. So all this is
Yeah.
there. We can do all this. There are simply no excuses left now. We cannot have laziness in thought. or lethargy in action. Country needs it, our armed forces need it, it's our manifest destiny. It just has to happen.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. So the first change I think we need to discuss a little more is this business of change in the mindset of leaders. You know, what you said, I cannot change. It's nice for the defense secretary or the DRDO secretary, right, to say, oh, this thing is broken and, it can't be fixed, XYZ, the DPP. But I have a different view on this. Do you need the DPP to execute your procurement? My experience says you don't need it. I mean, let me now tell you, uh, I've been party to two amendments to the DPP, and I've also, for a long time, I operated the DPP, and when I was retiring, I was handling a lot of projects which all ran on this DPP, and I never read it even once. I never read the DPP because the DPP, like the Bible, is there. You read it selectively, refer to it selectively. You have doubts, clarify it, and get going. And the DPP is just a way to move ahead. What has happened in our leadership, and this is my firm conviction, that the DPP has been used as a crutch for not doing a thing. Okay. And it is in this context, I think the leadership change, whether you call the defense secretary or the secretary DRDO or the FADS or the three chiefs and the SFC and all these people, I think they have to start saying, what is the change I have to do? Your views on that first.
No, absolutely. See, I'll give you the same example with reference to the GFR. I mean, I have read the GFR a couple of times. Nowhere does it say that it is an obstacle to do all the things that the people say. The GFR broadly just says one thing, that whenever you spend government money, there should be no corruption, there should be no misuse, and it should be at the most reasonable cost. It doesn't even say L1.
That's it.
Now we have to just argue these things on file. And exactly, uh, the last 8 to 10 years when I was at the Apex, I never saw these as a roadblock. And the IFAs also never advised me accordingly. But I'm just responding to the fact, if you meet people in very high places and today in the services and all, they'll tell you, कि sir, ये हमने करना था सर, डीपीपी में प्रॉब्लम थी, तो हमने इसको ऐसे घुमा के कर दिया. I'm saying if DPP is such an obstacle, then rewrite it in 4 months. What is so great about it? It is not a
No, no.
constitutional document. And
Look, I've been.
if it is an excuse not to do things, or people are scaring you not to do things, hold them to account. But you please cannot tell me, ki, sir, I was there for 2 years, DPP was a problem, so my soldier, sailor, airmen did not get that stuff. Secondly, sir, hypothetically, let's take this aircraft example. If the same scientists have not produced the engines for 40 years, do something different. Allow the chairman DRDO flexible recruitment. That for this engine, pick up anybody from the world, get him, put him on this, and he will deliver. This is what other countries have done. China has done this as part of the 1,000 Talents Plan. Americans do it. Or say, this is my bright scientist, I have put him here, and in 3 years you will deliver. But it cannot be that we say, okay, this is the committee, this is what we need to do. 4 years later, the same excuse. That cannot happen.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
these are the things to whatever the chairman DRDO needs must be given. I mean, if we have to get 3 scientists and pay them even 20 lakhs a month, it is nothing for national security. Now,
I
these are
completely
the
agree.
things to do. It cannot be the things of the past. And if these things are done, which is very much possible, let's talk of this FADS IFA. Everybody says, sir, they are the problem. So I'm requesting, I'm urging, I'm pleading, मैं हाथ जोड़ रहा हूँ, FADS say, you are the highest man in the financial business, you understand it. Say कि सर ये है, मैं ये 12 पेज लिख दिए, अभी कोई, nobody will quote the financial documents as an excuse not to do things. Why can it not be done? And I can tell you there are many bright officers in the Indian Audit Service who can do it. If the top level guys cannot do it, pick up 4-5 youngsters. Look at, sir, how the CFO works in the private sector. The chief financial officer is a very important man, but he says, all right, these are the objectives of Microsoft or say in Skyroot. So I will deliver these objectives, but they have to be done in this manner. The CFO doesn't have veto powers that I will write 4 notes, go sit at home, and 5 months the file will घूमा है, IFA ने लिख दिया, IFA ने लिख दिया. This has to change, Baba. All, and we are pleading. I am saying you are men of great distinction. Please do it. This
I'll
cannot
give you a,
and I just
you know,
1 minute, sir. Just
yeah.
1 minute. There is a lovely document. I'm sure you would have read it, sir. Shankar ka CTO Palantir. He's written on defense reformation. वो यही बोलता है. He says, he's talking in the American context, that the DPP there, all the procedures were designed for a monopsony market. See, I'll tell you how this market is working. 1 buyer, 1 seller. No competition, no choices. All 3 services have to go to HAL. So I was DDGMOD. If I had to buy 6 aircraft in a year, I would give all advance in the beginning of the year. A great company. No, pura advance. This may no leverage with me. I can go nowhere. This has to change. It has to, if we have to operate in these technology commercial markets, there have to be multiple choices, multiple players. Now, it is a very lazy system which works well for everybody. But the product doesn't come at the end of the day. Now, see, something we have to be honest. Look at the ALH, sir. 23 years, 23 crashes. We have to look at it. Unless you tighten up these things, even in other areas where we are talking of revenue generation, that will not happen. And the point really, sir, that these are very simple things. They are not as difficult as they are made out to be. And once these small changes start happening, we will see the magic of change. I think I've lost
today,
you.
I think my internet is misbehaving. So you'll have to. No. Yeah. What's happened is my internet is giving a little problem. It's a little shaky. That's why we've been losing each other. I completely agree with what you're saying. Let me give you a small example. Internet. Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can, sir. I can hear you.
Can you hear me? Okay.
I can, sir. I can.
Yes, thanks a lot. Now, I'll give you a very small example. And this was discussed yesterday. Okay. All these institutes and all where you want to go and get some research done and all that are given projects. And these projects have milestones. Okay. So the payments are released as per milestones. So at the end of the milestone, this is the defense system, right? At the end of the milestone, the thing is put up to the IFA. And the IFA then sanctions it. And then he'll question it and then sanction it. Invariably, there's a delay of 2 to 3 months. So the milestone money comes after 2 months. But the project doesn't stop. All right? The project has to run. For those 3 months, actually, it has gone into a negative balance because the money is being spent without income. So every time there's a negative balance, there is no way you can cover it up because the sanction which was to come yesterday is going to come 3 months later. So how do you cover it up? So there's an audit objection for using that negative balance. This is a small thing. I'm giving you a very elemental thing. And this is there for everything. But in ISRO, that's not the case. In other departments, it's not the case. They give, they lay down the timelines, and the money gets released as per the timelines. And all someone has to do is a small committee sits down and reviews. Okay, everything done. The committee gives its findings at the desired timeline. Okay, and the money continues. These are small things. Very, very, very fundamental things. I hope the FADS has a look at this, because I think a lot of change which we need is hinges around financial reforms.
Yes.
So I would like you to dwell on this, because the reason is this. Why you need change in financial reforms is this. You every year the defense budget is increasing. I'm not saying as a share of yeah, sorry. My internet is misbehaving. You'll have to bear with it. So every year our defense budget is increasing. Not as a share of GDP, but it is increasing with the GDP. And it's the same 2% of your GDP is increasing, your defense budget is increasing. And with every increase in defense budget, you need the capacity to spend. And you need the capacity to spend more. And if your defense budget has to increase, which we will talk of a little later, you need to have better capacities to spend. So there's no point in having a capacity, you have more allocation and you can't spend. And if you have more allocation and you can't spend, you're not getting capability. And today, one of the biggest stumbling blocks, in my opinion, is the financial, reforms which are not taking place or are required. Can you discuss this? Because I think this is a very important thing. Then we'll go to the other issues.
I agree with you, sir. See, everybody has to change. The services have to change. We have to deliver our own change. DRDO has to change. And FADS, I brought this point. I think the topmost priority is FADS. If the entire financial system cannot even spend $75 billion, which is our budget, when your adversary is spending $500 billion, it is really a shame. So are we saying that we don't even have the intelligence to spend $75 billion when the Chinese can spend $500 billion? So if your procedures are the cause, please change it. In fact, a good financial system should say, our procedures are not a problem. If you want, we'll make you spend $600 billion. And how this argument has been spun around to say, listen, defense allocations are not a problem, but we cannot even spend $75 billion. So what are we saying? We are saying, listen, we are so tied up in our bureaucracies over here that the poor sailor, soldier, and the airman in the field will not get the combat capacities that we need.
Yeah.
What kind of
Yes.
argument is that? And we have many years laughed it off. If ye karta hai, if ye wo karta hai, we will get around. This has to change now. We are the third most powerful country in the world. And the FADS should say कि सर आप 200 billion लाओ, मैं उसको भी खर्च करूंगा, मैं अपने प्रोसेस रिफाइन करूंगा. This laziness has to go from everybody. I'm saying civil, military, administrative, financial, technological leadership. And one more thing I'm saying, sir, this is between you and me. I don't know whether you agree with me. Our class, which means civil, military, technological bureaucracies, no, everybody. For long, we have said in our cocktail parties and all that, a politician doesn't allow, sir. What can I do? I don't think that is true any longer. The politician is telling you, by this reform also, that reform also, this reform also. We have to be honest. And if we feel so strongly that no, this procedure is ironclad, it is really sacred, and only this is the way it will happen, please go. A better chap should come. Or get somebody from the private sector who handles finances. But this just has to end now.
Yeah,
we cannot have these kind of differentials. As it is, there is a problem. There is a problem of $400 billion every year. So we also need an enhancement in our defense budget. So that is another part of the argument. But this first part that I was talking of, so I made this example many times, but let's just revisit it.
Yeah,
Russia is
no,
a
let me highlight what you said actually. Actually, 75 billion is what we have to spend, but out of the 75 billion, almost 50% to 60% is fixed. There you don't have to think about it because that's pay and
which
allowances.
which is worse. So I can't even
No,
spend
no,
50.
no. That you don't have to think. It's worse. Actually, you just have to spend 30 to 35 billion dollars, and you're not able to do it. See, the
Absolutely.
problem is even more worse than what we imagine. Okay, so first and foremost is that you need to refine your structures to able to spend money. And it is if you want to modernize, you need a good financial structure. The financial structure of all the structures in the DPP, I think the financial structure is the one which is most broken. This is my personal view. Right? I don't
Absolutely.
think anyone, and I'm now talking across the board from engineers to scientists to educationists to generals to everyone. That's their view. So that's the first thing. Okay. Uh, Now you did mention that tomorrow the defense budget will increase. So let's look at this. Like I told you earlier, as our GDP grows, our defense budget will increase. But is that enough? Do you need more? That's a question I would like you to analyze.
So, sir, my proposition is this. Uh, One of the guys who reformed national security in the United States was Andrew Marshall. Andrew Marshall was an economist, a near Nobel laureate economist with a sharp mind on national security. So if I and you make an argument for increasing defense budget, they will say, oh, these generals constantly militarizing. I'm appealing to the economists. Are you saying that India does not, year on year, if the military component of the power differential is $400 billion, I mean, there are limits to valor. So you have to find the money. National security must be woven into economic statecraft. It cannot be an afterthought. So the economists must say that to secure this economy of ours, to secure our economic futures, we need to spend on defense. And the other argument is absolutely obvious that penny wise, pound foolish. What you save or what you do not spend on defense today, which means you weaken deterrence, you will end up spending for war fighting 10 years later.
Yeah.
So every
Today
which
my
way,
internet is absolutely bad. And I'm sorry for this, but we'll just wait for him to get back.
sir,
Hello.
yes, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Sorry.
Sir, are we good, sir?
Hope so. Because the internet is giving me a lot of problems today. Either the internet is giving problems or I'm being jammed. One of the two. Yeah. Let's go ahead.
So I've done some economic calculations of my own, and I'm saying if you increase the defense budget by 0.5% every year, get it to about 3 to 3.5%, which is what this country can afford. We are in a pretty good state in the economy. You will give the CDS about $500 billion over 8 years. China is spending $400 billion every year. 400 every year more than us. I'm saying 500 over 8 years. And these $500 billion must go only into strategic deterrence. They must not disappear along the LAC and all that, which means three things in my view: stealth enabled offensive air power, which is really becoming a problem, which the air chief has been pointing to time and again. I think that is our topmost priority. The second is our AD topology. I don't think it is anywhere near in terms of robustness, what we need against a sophisticated precision long range system that the Chinese have. And the third could be in areas in space, cyber, and all. See, so here also let's get into one thing. There has to be clarity. I read somewhere that Vidya is not knowledge, it is clarity. So we need a lot of clarity in MOD. Space is a good example. I'm now convinced, sir, after a lot of reading on space, that ISRO, NASA, they can do exploration. When we expect ISRO to deliver on space, we are barking up the wrong tree for two reasons. Because the space architecture for exploration is very different from what you need for the military. Two, ISRO, NASA, these organizations want to stay away from the military because they get this militarization tag and it hampers their own technological development in the civil space. That is the whole logic for space commands, full-fledged combatant commands. I'm not arguing for rank, but the space agency must be made a full-fledged combat command and told, here is your money, there is sky route, 2 years, persistent surveillance in Ladakh, LEO satellites 20 odd, persistent with SAR capabilities day and night. Specific these kind of things, not committee and this endless wait for 4A, 4B. This is our fault. If we expect ISRO to deliver on these capacities, at least in this tactical operational dimension, they cannot. It has to be the space command, which that is the whole logic of all nations growing these combatant commands in space. Similar cyber. So some of these areas which grows our strategic deterrence. So $500 billion for that, with 6 IFAs who can spend and not 12 IFAs who cannot spend.
you need you need 2 or 3 IFAs who can spend. Yeah, I think that's a basic thing. Yeah, you suggested 3 areas. That could be fourth, it could be fifth. That's not an issue.
Yes,
But you need
I'm
to
just saying
have focus.
strategic deterrence. Sir.
Yeah, strategic deterrence. I wouldn't even say strategic deterrence. I think you need strategic capability. And that strategic capability need not be deterrence alone, it could be others also. And if you want to be a power, you have to have that capability. I mean, after all, late Mr. Manmohan Singh, I remember in the 90s, he said, our area of interest is from the Gulf of Aden to the Strait of Malacca. That area
Absolutely.
remains,
Yes, we have
right?
to get out
And
of
if
the
you need,
offensive crowd.
yeah, right? And you've been operating there. You have a base in Andaman Nicobar, and you've been operating in the Western Arabian Sea. So you need those capabilities. So if you need those capabilities, you need to focus on these strategic technology which you have to put in. And on that, I don't have a thing. I also feel in terms of reform, you need to have a technology enablement board, which is, going to override many of these things. Who who has to give the pathway to get all these, uh, technologies. Today, you don't have that.
So I
You
agree
just
with you
don't have
totally.
anyone.
So
Who is
today,
the
sir, I
guy
mean,
who will tell you, you know, and in fact, I will put it this way: the Raksha Mantri needs to have a national security advisory committee with him. His, who will tell him, look, this is what is to be done. These are the technologies which we have to procure, and this is the way we have to procure it, get it, and force it down people's throat and train them or whatever it is, and then give solutions to all the problems in DPP. You see, DPP is a problem, it is broken down. You need to have a fixing agency, isn't it? You can't reinvent the DPP. Whether the DPP, how do you fix the broken record? Again, you need a set of people to sort out that broken record. So I think it's time, as part of reform, you need to have a structure, empowered committee structure, jo bhi bolo. It can have the FADS also sitting as its apex body. As I have no problem with it. But the guy should know about all these technologies and advise people and say, look, just do it. Can we discuss on this?
Yeah, so I agree with you totally. So when the Americans had a big problem with this, with their technology bit, and Ash Carter was their Raksha Mantri, Defense Secretary. Since he had a scientific background, he had worked for long in the Pentagon on the science. He created a technology advisory council, statutory body in Pentagon with full powers. So I'm suggesting that for a MOD, where you have, and I'm just naming them hypothetically, you can choose your people, somebody with a proven record. So Mr. Kalyani, startups, this business of startups being vendors, eternally pleading has to go. A successful startup will be part of that. Have the service chiefs, the CDS, DevSec, equals in the dialogue. All the proposals should come by such a body, and they should manage them, push them, force, get them forward. Also the FADS, as you said. But what is the message that we are signaling? That the private sector, the startups, the innovators, those who are delivering, are equals in this game. They are no longer vendors, pleaders. And in that technologically advisory council, there were people of the eminence of Eric Schmidt and so on, Google head.
Yeah,
It is
yeah, head
those.
of Google.
The CDS, very respectfully, should have a technology advisor of eminence in his office. The
Yeah,
signaling has to go. That kind of stuff. Other domain specialists. This bit has to happen. Look at the NSCS. The NSCS, in my view, was created to get equal talent from government and from technology and other domains, so that your views of national security are integrated. All wisdom in national security doesn't lie with the services and the government. Everybody has a stake in national security, startups, the private sector. Mr. Kalyani has done a lot of work here. His company, Bharat Forge, Suraj ammunition wale jo hain. Suraj hai, sir, or what is that?
solar, solar,
Solar.
solar.
Anybody who has demonstrated like this, it could be this Samir Joshi, Vrinda Kapoor. We have to acknowledge that. Get them there. They have to be equals, and they have to drive all these issues. So it
Yeah,
certainly can be done, but these bold measures have to be taken to signal and to make sure it happens.
yeah,
That these
I go with you. I'll just show this slide. You know, this set of 12 technologies, I feel, are the core of the issue. They're all interconnected and they're all tomorrow's technologies. And this century, these technologies will rule. And we have to
I
make an
just
honest assessment. Yeah,
I just wanted to add one thing. So I saw it, additive manufacturing. So I'm told what's happening today in Ukraine and all these
your view.
places.
Oh, yeah. I'm not. I can't hear you. I think
Can you hear me now?
today.
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, yeah. Go ahead.
I just saw this additive manufacturing, and I just wanted to give an example. See, sir, how the game has moved in additive manufacturing. I'm told today the Americans and the whole lot of other people, they are using additive manufacturing to say drones. I find that a particular drone, its rocket motor is not needs to be changed in this manner, or its other design has to be changed in this manner. With additive manufacturing, these designs are changed over the weekend. So Friday you have one kind of drone, over the weekend you change it, Monday you have a
Yeah,
far
yeah,
superior. Now, if this is the pace of change, where is the time for GSQR and that file to move and IFA and DPP? There is no time. This just has to
yeah,
happen on an email, or
yeah,
so it's not, you're not saying arguing for the sake of it. You can't have now कि sir Friday को ये हुआ, file move हुई,
yeah.
और
I
happen.
yeah. It's. I think we are completely. So I think we are talking of a complete change in attitude, a complete change in our structural thinking. Our thinking structure has to change, and you have
And
to
if we
think
do it, sir,
technology.
we will
And
surprise ourselves. These are not so difficult things. We हमने
yeah,
पढ़ा
yeah,
लिखा
yeah.
है,
I
बना
agree with you. I agree with you completely. That the pace at which things are happening and the scale at which things are happening, I can see it. I have practical experience sitting in IIT Madras. I see youngsters doing this change. After all, these very youngsters go abroad and do change for them. All you have
absolutely.
to do is tap it. Okay, all you have to do is tap it. I'll give you a small example. When you look at multi-domain awareness, that's what you're talking space, this, that, all that. You need a large language model. You need something which you can get inputs from space. You need something from UAVs. You need something from ground troops. Then you need some electronic intelligence. These are different forms of intelligence you get. And today you don't have any capability of meshing it, fusion. And the story is multimodal fusion. Okay. This technology, 6 months back, people were saying, oh, it's a very difficult technology, this, that, and all that. 2 days back, I was reading multimodal technology is going to come as part of ChatGPT. Computer vision, multimodal technology, and all this computer vision, large language model, electronic thing is going to be integrated and fused and given to us on our computers. So if you're prepared to pay ChatGPT money, he'll give it to you. And
Absolutely.
people are going to employ the technology to design, do everything on the fly. They are not going to come to the FATS to seek, sanctions. So I think there's a huge change which we need uh, when we start thinking of this. So I mean, this is my
And the
conviction. That's why when you said this, I readily agreed for this talk. Yeah, please go ahead.
and the other point is, sir, as we get technologies like autonomy and all, the real change now is to deliver it at declining cost.
Yes.
Declining cost. Uh, Look at how inefficient our systems are. We know it's all privately spoken that Pakistan ordnance factories are 3 times cheaper than our ammunition. Now this has to end, sir. When will this end? Whatever your problems are. The defense PSUs over the years, we have raised them like these government jobs. Come, stay, pension. These kind of organizations cannot be like this. They have to deliver at declining costs and not at exorbitant costs. So therefore, those changes just have to happen in PSU after PSU and after PSU. For one reason is of costs, and the other is unless you get those innovation, entrepreneurial skills, you will never be able to compete globally. Just see, sir, what
Uh,
this 8 Unit 8200 has done in that whole pager business and all. Pagers, ICOM sets. It is an
yeah.
8-year project which was put together. But those 8 to 100 guys are the brightest minds, as you said, youngsters, sharp youngsters willing to take risks. If we need a DPP, the first three paragraphs have to be innovation, risk taking, and failures.
Accept
I mean, those are
failures.
the kind of change, sir, that failures will be honored. You have to put it down there.
Yeah. You
These are
know,
the changes
I,
which are
actually,
needed. The
actually, you
same way.
got out a very important thing. You know that thing about what the Israelis have done with the pager attack. It was in the making for over 6 to 7 years. And this might never have gone on road. And this
Yes, sir.
country has taken the risk
Risk.
that it will never happen. The fact that
Absolutely.
it happened is more of an exception than the was the intent,
Absolutely.
right? So I think the very important one of the biggest reforms which we need in our system is the acceptance of failure,
Absolutely.
right? Even if you fail 4 out of 5 times, the one time when you're successful will give you out of turn returns. And for that, you need to have certain amount of venture capitalism. So, the venture capitalistic way of thinking has to come into the government. Do you think it
So
can?
yes. So look at this. Today we have many defense startups who have matured through the IDEX, which is our own system. So the IDEX system, through a fair process, has brought some startups to the fore. So it is our system. We have chosen them for their talent, competencies, and they are there. Now, the only thing that they need from you is orders. If the defense services and the MOD can be good customers, what is a good customer? Just give them their fair orders. Once they get their set of one or two orders, the VCs will automatically pour in. They will see कि भाई
Yeah.
यहाँ order मिल रहा है. They will see business. But अगर वो बेचारा स्टार्टअप उसको आप दो देते हो, फिर वो रिपीट के लिए लटका रहता है, और यू से नाउ रिपीट में you can't come. Now L1 will come. L1, in my view, sir, most, with all humility, is the most outrageous mode of price discovery. It just cannot happen that way. And in many other areas of government, it's not happening. We are the only people who are obsessed with L1. So these false gods have
Hmm.
to be taken out. L1, no one will ever fail. There will be no innovation. If these are the metrics of our DPP, they just need to go. And what we need most, sir, is leadership. We need leadership now, people who are willing to do things. And
Yes.
if every other country can do it, Israel can do it, China can do it, USA can do it, we can do the DPI. We can
Yeah,
do.
I
Why
agree
can't
with you.
to me, there just is no reason not to do it.
Okay, fine. I think we've covered a whole lot of ground. I think we've delivered a huge message. Um, I'll post it in a group. I know where the FADS exists. I hope he sees it. And we'll see. But then let's see what people have to say and what questions are there, right? Uh, okay, this is a very interesting question. So, Soviets used to hire good talents directly going into colleges and schools. Why Indian Army, Air Force, Navy do not recruit from IIT directly?
So let me make 2 points here, sir. National security is a domain of high talent. It is so complex and sophisticated. You need Elon Musk's, Alex Karps, and all that. So I'm making this plea like I made in that engine case. If the same scientists cannot do it, see who the best mind is. Give
And
the
get him.
chairman DRDO flexible recruitment options. You have to learn to pay for your talent, wherever they come from. And once you're willing to do that, they are enough. And there is the other problem. There is a lot of talent roaming around in India, which we have reduced to pleaders in this whole customer IFA vendor framework. वो बेचारा आईटीएन है, वो क्वांटम कर रहा है, बट वो रोज आपके पीछे घूमता रहता है कि भाई मेरी फाइल क्लियर कर दो.
Mm.
We have
Yeah, I
made
agree with you.
meat out of talent. So this has to go. A combination of measures have to happen. But I couldn't agree with you more. We need high quality talent. And an Indian
Yeah, make
American from university, I don't know anyone. We have to invite them. Uh, the
and let me
Chinese
tell
have
you, you
followed
don't
it
need
through the.
you don't need much talent from outside. You just need to persevere with your own talent, you'll get it. Okay.
Yes, and
Right.
other issues like the Chinese followed it through the diaspora strategy, thousand talents plan. When the gap was huge, they used it to narrow the gap. Uh, we are talking of technology, so I think I made this point, but just let me
Yeah.
reiterate it. Uh, 2003 to 2007, the Americans lead in 60 out of 65 emerging critical technologies. Then China gets into the act, thousand talents plan, diaspora strategy, cheating, copying, whatever. And 2019 to 2023, China leads in 57 out of 65. Look at the dramatic inversion. 60-65 USA, 57-65 China. That's peak critical technology tracker. Now, the good news is that India is third, distant third, but third. Why can't we say we will get all this act together and by 2035 in 8 domains we will be the leaders? Close the gap. And 2003 to 2019 we were perfecting the DPP and all those roadblocks. कि और दो पैराग्राफ डाल दो कि ना हो पाए. I'm just being exaggerating the matter to say outcomes and process. So we
Yeah,
really have.
we are more process driven than the outcome driven.
And I've been making this point when Z took over. I've now forgotten when he came to power. I think I'm 10, 12 years back. There's
Yeah,
an
12,
ideologue of his,
2000.
Wang Humin. He asked him to do a study of weaknesses of democracies. And one of the points was, Wang Humin said, their obsession with processes and procedures. So the analyst in that study concludes, kill them in their own systems. So while you are obsessed with process and procedure, adding paragraph and paragraph to DPPs, he was focusing on delivery and cutting out all this thing. So these are the opportunities if we cut out process and procedures. And one
Okay.
plea I have to the IITians, since IT was mentioned, IITians has to start delivering on these deep technologies, sir. I find too many IITians making these Zoom apps and these pizza delivery apps. This is not where this high talent
No,
should
no,
be
no.
wasted.
There are, see that the point is no one pushes them into those. So making pizza delivery apps is what if the pizza delivery chap says, "Hey, make an app for me," he'll make. You go and tell
Exactly.
him make an app, deep tech map, he'll make. He's a young
Exactly.
chap who wants a breakthrough, but he doesn't get a breakthrough.
So the deputy chief must land in Chennai and IIT Chennai say, who are your bright scientists? We will take them for the next 3 years at this pay.
Oh,
Please come to us.
yeah,
ये सब
that's the
होना
way.
चाहिए.
But for whatever reason, we are not doing it. Let me be very frank, we're not doing it.
And if we
Okay,
don't do it,
let's.
then we are not getting into this game.
Yeah, we're not going to get results. That's why I said leadership has to change. You have to focus on those 12 technologies. If you get hold of even eight of this, half a dozen of these technologies, 50% you're there. Anyway, many defense analysts say India is unable to do defense manufacture due to lack of funds. But then how come Russia producing latest weapons despite lesser GDP than India? India fails despite Russian collaboration. Yeah. I think he's made some important points.
So absolutely brilliant point.
Building.
Brilliant point. Russia is a $2 trillion economy. The combined West, not only Indians are lazy, Western democracies, combined
Mm.
West, $41 trillion. Who's winning the war? Russia. So it is the priority you accord to national security and not create all this uh, these kind of roadblocks. So absolutely we can do it. This lack of fund is the time cost overruns by process, procedure, our inability to change. I think our inability to change itself would be costing us $50 billion a year. So it's not lack of funds, the costs of not changing are far higher. So we really need
Yeah.
to, that is the whole argument is of change.
Every year you delay induction of a new technology, that technology cost is going up, right? Because of two fundamental reasons. One, the technology is changing, and the next level of technology is costlier, right? And for that 1 year, you not don't have the technology is a loss. So
And
you
if I,
are getting, yeah,
so we have to get our own technology. Here we have to shed some of our innocence, strategic innocence. I wonder what you have to say, but I want to make this point. So we say, all right, we don't have engine technology. We will get into a deal with the Americans and they will give us this technology. FE4, the Americans will never share this kind of technology with you. We have to be absolutely clear. They will link it to other aspects, HR, this, that, and all, and it will never happen, in my view. This kind of technology, you have to just do that other route. Best mind, 8 years, that kind of stuff. Through these
yeah,
so-called strategic partnerships and all this, real high-end cutting-edge technologies, the kind you need for your sixth generation, fifth generation platforms are not coming.
yeah. The other thing to this is you think of alternate technologies, alternate capabilities. I mean, you have to think differently. Okay, you don't have a fifth gen fighter, so what if? Can you have a fifth
They have
gen
a very
missile?
potent missile force. They have a very potent missile force. But
Missile
something,
force. Something you have to think differently. You have a technology, why don't you maximize it? Okay. So we don't need the latest. I mean, this is a point which I keep telling everyone. To win a war, you don't need the best and the latest technology or the costliest technology. You don't have to copy the Jones. Just because China has this, you don't need it. You have to maximize what you have. And you play to your strengths than rather to your weaknesses. Today we are creating weaknesses and we are not reinforcing our strengths. That's the big problem. And I think one of the things which the MOD has to do is start looking at this and, and accordingly move in the right direction. Okay. Uh, he says, sir, in budget, salary pension are included. Do you think we need specific amounts for equipment, new technologies, safety, and other equipment? Thanks. So what he's saying is split the budget. That's the fundamental thing, right? And that's what we spoke of. Yeah, you have anything to say? You can talk of it.
see, sir, we need to revisit one more reality. For many years, we said that the way forward for optimization is to reduce manpower and build in other areas. Now we have to revisit this. In the Russian-Ukraine conflict, Russia is also winning because it has 6 to 8 times the Ukrainian manpower, and people are dying. So this is not this reduction that technology will replace manpower is
Is
unfortunately
also
not true.
false.
So budgets and all, are there other areas of optimization? Certainly. So there has to be optimization and incentivization in this manner. Hypothetically, if the chief of the army staff optimizes $4 billion every year, he should be given $18 billion to spend. That can be done. But leave the areas of optimization to him. This generic conclusion that reduce manpower, build technology. This doesn't work in combat.
It doesn't work at all, in fact. Okay. We should stop comparing with China and we need to look at on ourselves to improve. I couldn't agree with you more, Amitesh. That's what we've been saying. We don't want to do. Uh, yeah.
Can I make one point here, sir? One point here.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Of course, we should not compare with China. We should say we should do so well that China should start comparing with us. But we must do that, no? If you do that, then China will compare with us. People today give
Yeah,
Chinese examples because they are the ones which are delivering.
yeah. Let me see. Any good question? Yeah, I don't see many good questions here. I think we've covered most of the questions. Uh, yeah, I think we've generally put across our message. You want to be a modern force. You want to be a force of the future. If India has to be a power of the future, which it desires, you need to change the MOD. The MOD has to change. The MOD has to change its processes. The MOD has to change its leadership. The MOD has to change its thinking. MOD has to be involved in technology. These are the four things which broadly I've thought of. I mean, the rest we've all covered. And there's no other way. As simple as that. Otherwise, we'll continue with what we have. And this is what our sum total of the talk today is. Your last point, the last view, Rajan, then we'll close the show.
My last view is, sir, that we should not listen to naysayers. Before the CDS DMA was established, I was DGPP then, and a lot of naysayers said, no, 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 we don't need to do that, we don't need to do that. So, and yet CDS DMA, which was a very bold step, was taken. It is in that same spirit we should continue the reforms. It is really not about rank and status. It is about change, optimization, and delivery. Whether a 2-star delivers or a 4-star delivers, whoever delivers should be empowered. It is about empowerment and not really, rank. The third point, as I made right in the beginning, that this is doable change. There is nothing so great about it. It is a lot of commonsensical steps which we have not taken over years. So it is the accumulated inaction. Accumulated inaction. We have said, नहीं अभी ये बड़ा difficult है, 5 साल बाद देखेंगे और वो छोटा मोटा change कर देते हैं. So what if we need 5x in terms of change? Let's do it. Let's not tinker with 2x. That will not deliver. And my last point is, what we really need is two things: change, change, and change. Orders, orders, and orders. ये startups वगैरह
Yeah,
जो हैं उनको order दे दो. ये सारा
order.
बंद. You just see how new energy will come. And if the top very respected people that I referred to, service chief, CDS, defense secretary, and all, if you can get this going, you just see कि क्या फिजा में बदलाव आएगा. MOD will become the epicenter of change. And once
Yeah.
it is like smelling blood. Once you taste change, it will grow exponentially when you see the effects of change happening.
Yeah. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for all your views. I think we've been very candid in what is required to change. And I'd like to thank all of you for coming on to the show, those of you who have appeared. My apologies because today what's happened with the internet, and I think there's a general problem in Chennai because I switched nets. I'm still not there. And I think there's
That's why we
some
need
more.
5G on the LAC, sir, not this low latency.
Yeah, I agree with you. It just proves the point that our national level technology is not good enough, and that we can't even communicate and do a simple podcast without interruptions. Right. With this, thanks a lot once again. Uh, Join in tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk of what the Chinese discuss about India. Till then, have a great evening. Thanks once again, General Raj Shukla. Good evening and Jai Hind to all of you.
Thank you very much, sir. All the best to you, sir. Thank you, sir.